one of my good friends from undergrad. I've known you for 7 years.
7 years.
7 years. Yeah. We done the next class. But you're watching show. Did you masters?
Yes.
That's your party.
Yeah. And follow this on your favorite, wherever you like to fancy your favorite podcast or whatnot.
What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy, AJ. We back. Unscripted Conversations. If you ain't already subscribed, go ahead and do that. Make sure you hit a like, post notifications, drop a comment. If you got a topic you want to hear or you want to be a guest on the show, just let me know. It ain't nothing but a thing. But today, in the chair, on the stool, we got Brandy with me. How you living today, brother?
Living.
Go on and introduce yourself to the people. Let them know who you are.
My name is Brandon Henderson. I am 25. I will be 26. I don't know. You're going to upload this, so maybe at the time you upload it, I will be 26. Proud graduate of the Prairie View A&M Agricultural and Mechanical University with my bachelor's in business administration.
That's cool, man. That's cool. So I'm glad you decided to come on the show.
Thank you for inviting me. No lie, I was not expecting this.
Hey, man, you're one of my good friends from undergrad. I've known you for 7 years.
7 years.
7 years.
21 minus 14.
Yep. Seven. Good self. 7's a lucky number. It's a good number. It's a holy number. But yeah, man. So I had to invite you on the show. Shoot, if anybody done been through all types of thick and thin, you know what I'm saying? You done been present.
Thickity thick.
Yep. So how life been treating you, man?
Man, life is. Do we really want to get into that? Nah, I'm just kidding. Life is life. Unpredictable, got its ups and downs, everything in between, but as long as I'm on this side of the grass, I think I'm doing pretty okay. Always room for improvement. Kind of have, a better day than you did last,
So you said as long as you're on this side, you're good. Is that good enough for you? Or are you doing things to make your time on this side of the dirt worthwhile with some meaning?
It's a little mix of both. Just a little mix of both. Like, of course, I don't foresee my time, to depart into the other realm, being anytime soon. So, as long as I'm here, I want to be able to, be working towards leaving, not just like, I guess you can say for lack of a better term, like a lasting legacy for myself. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to, people to look back and say, like, hey, he did that. Or he did this, he did, stuff.
That's solid. So if you had to pick like 2 or 3 words that you would want to be remembered by or associated with, you know what I'm saying, when that time does come, what would those be?
Said 2 or 3 words? Mm-hmm. If you just be remembered by? I'll say first and foremost, honest. Mm-hmm. I've always been big on, being my honest self as possible, and being honest with other people, and just people being honest with me. Mm-hmm. I guess I could say you say it's a synonym. Authentic. Mm-hmm. Definitely want to say I would like people to remember me as my most authentic self. Mm-hmm. Just being me, not really having to worry so much about pleasing this person, that person, kind of conforming to whatever societal norms are. Just doing my own thing, just be chilling. I just be Brandon.
Right.
I just be Brandon.
I like it. So, let me ask you this. I don't want to say a lot of people because I'm not in everybody's life. Mm-hmm. But I feel like a common thing with people when they say that they want to be remembered as or for such, that when it comes to legacy, that means something to them as to how they conduct themselves, right? Like their day-to-day, how they work with people, how they tackle adventures, whatever the case. So when it comes to leaving that legacy, I know you said you want to be remembered as honest and authentic, but do you feel like there's ever a time when, do you feel like it's possible rather, that somebody can be consumed in the legacy that they want to leave, and then that kind of like takes over or kind of replaces the person that they actually are?
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Because, everybody kind of has their own idea about how they see themselves, so much as they kind of take away on, how it may look on the other side of that other person's perception. So it's like, okay, let's say this. So like I said, I would like to be remembered, for being, honest and authentic. So not saying, this and be, but like just hypothetically, let's say like I just get so consumed on, wanting to be honest, that it kind of just, I kind of lose track of actually being honest. It's like you want to be remembered for being honest, but are you really being honest in the midst of all that? So it's like you kind of just get so consumed on the idea that you have for yourself that you kind of deviate away from why you really did it, just for the simple fact that this is what I want, but you kind of forget the why you want it, if that makes sense.
No, I feel that. What is your opinion on astrology and zodiac signs?
It's not something I follow like that. Of course, it's something I'm familiar with. Gemini.
Right.
Anytime I say I'm a Gemini, most people have very many mixed reactions.
Right.
It's like, it's like, oh, you're a Gemini. I was like, oh my God, you're a Gemini. It's really just like one or the other. It's like you either love us or you hate us. Stuff like that.
No in between.
It's really we are the in between. You just cut.
Ain't nobody talking about y'all. You was talking about people's opinion on y'all.
I'm just saying like we are the in between. Like some opinions like we are the in between. It's like you never know what you're gonna get out of this person.
Okay.
So it's like I still don't follow it, but it's not something, and I don't read like horoscopes every day. I don't, follow astrology and zodiac signs down to a T.
Right.
I guess I'm kind of it's something I just kind of follow to an extent.
So, what's your opinion? Like, let's say you were to look up male Gemini traits, right? Or because like people look up those things when like they're dating a person or there's friendship or just different scenarios. People look up like, oh, like what's this person like? What are their characteristics? What are their traits? What is your opinion on the validity of those characteristics when it comes to the actual person?
I would say it's overall opinionated, but there are a lot of times where it's really coincidental. It's like, okay, this person had, their list of traits are this, and this, and this. And then you actually just, I don't know, just get bored one day or whatever and just look up look at that person's signs and see those traits and they just oddly correlate with each other. And it's, some people is like, oh, that explains why you're like this. Like, oh, that explains a lot. But I wouldn't really dumb it down to that. Like saying, it's valid or really factual. I'll say sometimes it just so happens this person like that. But I don't really think that person is born. Well, if you're like really into like astrology, the zodiac signs, I don't think that person is born in, being an Aries and they just live out their life, with the traits of an Aries.
Right.
Like they're not like a sim.
Right.
I guess you could say. It's like, everybody's their own person. They have their own feelings, thoughts, whatever. They literally grow up like on their own. Yeah. Now, if those traits kind of correlate with whatever you see based on, something that's kind of set in stone, or not set in stone, but like set, or has a general opinion of it, then it's a coincidence, but I wouldn't say it's as valid.
Okay. The reason I asked is since we were talking about legacy, people doing things to leave the legacy that they want to leave versus staying true to themselves and all of that. And I've had a few conversations with different people when it comes to zodiac signs and astrology. And in some circles, it's been a thing of, well, I don't know all the technical stuff. But, like, you are the way you are because of how the stars align. I'm going to just dumb it down to the way I understand it.
Right.
And then on the other side, there's been conversation of like, oh, well, because you identify with this one thing, Gemini, Scorpio, whatever the case, and then you see these things that you're supposed to be, you then make it fit your life or you make your life fit those things. You know what I mean? Like if they say, oh, like me being a Scorpio, oh, as a Scorpio, you're hard on the outside, soft on the inside, a loyal friend, vindictive when necessary, whatever the case. Then seeing that, I don't want to say being impressionable, but believing that, you know what I'm saying? It can either go one of two ways. Like, you be like, oh, I'm already that way because I have the stars line, or because I'm trying to conform to what a male Scorpio is,
Yeah.
I'm either gonna tailor these things to fit scenarios in my life, or I'm gonna make it fit or make myself fit some type of way to have that correlation between the two.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only reason I asked. We was talking about legacy and all of that, and I felt like it was loosely related to the different opinions on astrology and zodiacs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would say as far as a lot of those traits, you know, with the Scorpio, you just so happen to fit, you know, as far as, you know, loyal for. I don't know about the vindictive part. I've not personally experienced, you know, you being vindictive.
Right.
I don't think I want to, you know, experience you being vindictive.
Right.
But I would say too, in the sense, you know, you have a, you know, there's a harder exterior, but you know, and it's like, you know, you cool people. I won't say you soft on YouTube. I won't do you like that. I won't do you like that. He's not soft, y'all.
I'm soft and squishy. I'm like a teddy bear.
Bullshit.
I'm like a cuddly Build-A-Bear straight out the workshop. But anyway, let's talk about hair.
Let's talk about hair.
Let's talk about hair. I'm gonna tell you why I want to talk about hair. I want to talk about hair because we both got our undergrad degrees from the same institution.
Sure did.
We both heard very similar, if not the same things with regards to professionalism, presentation, self-dress, all of those things, etc. We're both also millennials. We both also, to my understanding, and I could be wrong, correct me if I am, have an alternative view, or at least slightly different view from the things that we've heard from our seniors.
That's right on the money.
Right. So, with having now attained your degree, you're doing life, you have your career, you're doing, you know what I'm saying, what it is that you're doing, do you feel like having a different hairstyle or managing your hair differently could have changed anything for you?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Can I just throw like this one little tip, because even though they clearly see I have a full afro, been growing about 4 or 5 years now. You were actually my barber in undergrad.
It's true. This is very true.
You were definitely my barber. Like, for those who actually like knew me, you know, since we first got there, remember with like fresh cut and everything.
Yeah.
Yep. That all you, buddy.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'm still my own barber.
But back to your original question, as far as like hair affecting, you know, career paths and everything. No, not exactly. Because even before I, you know, decided, you know, I want to try color with my hair, so I'm gonna just dye, you know, red and violet, and, you know, just doing straight up just purple now this year. I always kept my hair, you know, as traditionally professional as possible, but I always still kept my sense of at the same time.
Right.
So it's like, even like whether I was working, I had like a fresh cut, or even like I had an afro, like I always had my hair, you know, done in a way to where it's presentable, it's professional,
right?
But it's also, you know, catching to the eye, is also, you know, pleasing me for the most part. Because you know, I have never just been too fond of, you know, just fitting, like I said, fitting into societal norms. Like, if I really don't have to, like, I just like doing my own thing. So it's like, if I want to cut my hair, cut my hair. I want to grow my fro, grow my fro. That doesn't affect my job performance. Doesn't affect my professionalism. Doesn't affect my work ethic.
Yeah.
All you see is hair on my head. But, yeah, personally speaking, my hair hasn't really affected me on a professional sense. If anything, it would affect me in professional settings, but it would be with personal situations. So this is as far as like with customers and stuff.
Right.
Whether they would have like a compliment towards my hair, or they would try to say something slick on the side, you know, things of that nature. But as far as like my job and making my money, oh no, that don't change.
Right.
That don't change. I'd be completely bald headed and I still have the job.
I feel that. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but I've heard this in maybe like 2 or 3 different circles. And the only reason it sparked my mind is, as you said, the level of confidence that you had when you said it don't affect your money.
Mm-hmm.
How does the phrase, term, whatever you want to call it, this sentence, How does it resonate with you, or what is your opinion on it? Black men deal with trauma by making more money.
Mm. I've actually never heard of that. I've actually never heard that. Say it again?
Black men deal with trauma by making more money.
I could kind of see where that correlates.
What makes you say that?
Just sad. Well, I can say sadly, men, especially black men, aren't experts when it comes to dealing with feelings and emotions and trauma, specifically trauma, things of that nature. So it's like we kind of find different vices to kind of just, I guess, suppress it. Suppress it, bury, not have it like at the forefront of our mind. So, prime example, like, you're dealing with, you may not have like the best home life, but when you're at work, away from your home life, or you're, even the scope being younger, like when you're in school, like that's your escape from whatever what's going on at home. So it's like, I can definitely get that. It's like, I'm making money, but that's because I'm at work, and I'm at work because, I need money, but I'm not dealing with the things that are really going on inside, personally.
Right.
So I would say, especially like with friends I've had in high school, like even just classmates and stuff, they would, taking out, the whole aspect of, making money, but it still does apply, as you get older. Right. It's like black men deal with trauma by, being more involved in school, doing after school programs, things like that, burying themselves so much in school. So that way they don't have to worry about what they got to come back to once 5:30, whatever time they get out, hits. Right. Like I've had many classmates, this, school will be like their escape from, parents not being at home, or whatever kind of neglect or abuse or what have you, they have going on person. Some real deep shit that you would never fucking know. Right. But when they're in school, when they're active in that program or that organization or what have you, like that is where they're at. Like that's their way of dealing with their trauma. Not getting professional help and things like that, because I don't shy away from that at all. But they kind of just they do what they can with what they got. Right. As you grow older, schoolwork and organizations and all this free stuff, it gets a little bit more mature. Like now it's time to get a job, start a career, start that business, make money, make a living for yourself. Because, you're not getting no younger. So I would definitely say, black men do, to an extent, deal with trauma with making more money. Right. So, like, they'll work themselves crazy to the bone. Like, they'll dedicate all their time to their job, everything they have to do professionally, and then put everything personally on the back burner because, like, oh, that's not what I'm thinking about right now. Like, I gotta make this money. Like, I gotta do what I gotta do.
That's fair. So let me ask you this. Devil's advocate. Most people who have some sense of drive or ambition or purpose want to be more successful. Mm-hmm. The main driver may not be money and it may not be trauma, but overall they want to be successful because they have something within them that's pushing them to do that.
Of course.
Would you say that trauma is what feels, generally speaking, the black man to push for that level of success? Next statement being that everybody, generally speaking, is trying to push for success, and the reasoning doesn't really matter. Another statement of, well, regardless of trauma and regardless of reason, most people are trying to push forward.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's not something that's necessarily unique to black men. How does the devil's advocate side of, like, it's not black men dealing with trauma, it's just that's life and you're supposed to want to do better. Like, how do you feel on that side?
It's like I would say that in some cases with I guess we can stick with the whole black men thing. Mm-hmm. With black men, they use their trauma, their trials and tribulations as their motivation. Mm-hmm. To get out of the situation. Because at a point, there are points, you could, kind of get complacent, get comfortable with it to the point where, like, you're not comfortable with it anymore. You want better.
Right.
Like, you kind of, something just clicks in your head, like, this ain't it. Like, this is how it's supposed to be. I want better. Like, I want out.
Right.
So it's like you'll use your past, and you'll use your you'll use your past, to motivate you towards, gaining a better future for yourself. Mm-hmm. And I would say I've done that, to an extent myself, because I've been through quite a bit, just growing up. Shoot, some days, I'm surprised to have made it to 25. About to be 26.
Right.
Just looking back and, everything I've had to just go through as far as, like, family stuff and, broken homes, and at some point even just being straight out homeless. Straight up homeless, living in a homeless shelter, shit, damn near being on the streets.
Right.
All before even reaching fucking middle school. So it was like, as far as, putting myself in a position like that, I don't pretty much, say I use that so much as now, to an extent. Mm-hmm. Like, that's still in the back of my mind. It's like, okay, I've been through this. I never want to go back to it. Like, this is my past. Use that as fuel. To kind of work me more towards success.
Right.
But I would say that some black men, depending on the situation, where they'll use, like, their past and whatever they have going on with them to kind of, like, that's their drive, that's their motivation. They don't want to go back to it. They don't want to continue doing that.
Right.
But some people, success is a general thing, but it's also subjective. Like, my level of success isn't the same as your level of success. Mm-hmm. And our level of success isn't, the same as anybody else's, whether we know them or not. Mm-hmm. So it kind of just it's really just kind of up to you.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you brought up success, because, how can I put this? I feel like people who feel like they've reached success have failed. I'm going to tell you why. First, when you go through grade school, mm-hmm. K through 12, once you graduate from high school, if you were to be like, okay, I've made it, I'm successful, that's it. Like, not saying that people who leave high school cannot be successful, or cannot achieve success, or cannot make something in their lives, but let's say we had 100 people. Mm-hmm. And of those 100 people, 50 said, okay, now that I've gotten my high school diploma, I'm good, I've reached success, I don't need to do anything else. I feel like majority of those 50 would not be in very good places. Because I'm not going to say that they gave up, but they finished their race too early. I feel like success is something that's forever moving. Not necessarily that you're chasing it, but just like you're going through life, your picture of success changes with it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe
your perception of it changes.
Right. So, like, maybe your first thing of success was, okay, I'm gonna graduate high school, and then in the throughout the journey of doing that, you found another picture of success, and I'll just be generic and say it's going to college. Mm-hmm. So then, when you're applying it and you finally get that acceptance letter, then your mind changes again. So, okay, well, I want to major in this, or I want to join the dance team, I want to do football, whatever the case. And then it's like, okay, in line with that, I want to graduate from college. You know what I'm saying? And then before you graduate, it's like, okay, but I want to get a job. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so success is consistently changing. It's consistently molding and shifting and adjusting to the way that you perceive the world, life, and what it is that you want to do and how you want to go about it.
Yeah.
I feel like success, I'm not going to say it's never attainable. I don't want to say that, but I feel like if your main goal is reaching a point of success versus hitting that point and then moving on, then the drive that you had to get there is going to diminish, and then so will your productivity and your efficiency and whatever it is that you're doing. Mm-hmm. Like, let's use YouTube, for example, right? Like, I started this channel, and like, let's say that my goal is like, okay, on my first video, I want to get 30 views, right? Because at the time when I launched it, I had 55 subscribers.
Oh, 55 subscribers?
Yeah, I want to say I had 55 subscribers prior to launching my first video.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. I was thinking about the views on your first video. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. I want to say like I had maybe 55 subscribers prior to launching my first video.
Yeah.
And then if my measure of success was I'm successful if I get 30 views, right? Then by the end of the first day, I probably would have never made a YouTube video again. Like I probably would have never put one out.
Yeah, it's kind of like you would have just capped yourself right then.
Exactly.
Well, I don't even say cap, but more like
No.
more like stifled.
Definitely a cap. Because like in my opinion, stifle is just like you kind of funnel. But a cap, you can't go past the cap. Like if you cap a bottle, you know what I'm saying? If you there's another bottle cap.
No, I got you.
You know what I'm saying? Like
no,
if you
like
cap a pipe, you know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna stop.
Like
the
it's gonna stop. It's
flowing.
gonna stop right there.
Exactly, it's gonna cease. You know what I mean? And so that's why I feel like success is something that's forever shifting. Not that you can't attain it.
Yeah.
You can be successful in what you're doing while pursuing something else.
Mm-hmm.
So like, let's say, I don't know, like let's say somehow I came up with like a great product. I came up with metal, steel, and railing. And like my company was, I'll install your railing for like your whole apartment complex, and I became a millionaire. I could be a successful rail installation person, right? But then it's like, well, what do I do after that?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let's say I have a family, like I have kids to raise, I have a wife to tend to, I have a home. You know what I'm saying, to make sure that it's provided for, whatever the case. Let's say I'm more so into philanthropy, right? Like, okay, well, I owe a debt to the community that helped raise me. Or I was afforded opportunities that other people weren't, and I want to give them the opportunities that I had or better. You know what I mean? So, like, then success changes. Like, okay, I was successful in that, but now on this other side of things, I have another responsibility to whomever or to whatever it is, you know what I'm saying, that not only piques my interest, but has value to me.
Right.
That's the way I see it.
No, I definitely agree. Like, success is as attainable as you want it to be. And like you were saying, like success is almost ever changing. Because like you can set one goal and achieve it. But it's like, okay, you set this goal, okay, what's next? Like the way I see it, people were always kind of thinking about what's next. Mm-hmm. What's the next thing? What's the next move? Where am I going next?
Right.
So it's like, yeah, you can you can set a goal, you can attain that goal. Now you've met said goal.
Right.
But now I've met it. What else can I do? Mm-hmm. So you set another goal. You go to attain that goal. You meet and achieve it. Now it's like, what's next? Like, what's the next move? It's supposed to be just changing. Like, you're not supposed to just stay complacent to an extent. Now, some people are like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, that's if you're comfortable. If you like it, I love it. If you're comfortable with that, that's fine and dandy.
Right.
You know, cheers to you. But most people, they want to keep things pushing because it's like, okay, if I can set a goal for myself and I can achieve that, there's nothing else that I can't do because I set this for myself.
Right.
And then that kind of goes back to motivation. Like, that motivates you to just keep going, the striving higher, doing more, like getting bigger.
Right.
And then I guess it can all kind of tie back to the whole, legacy thing. Like, whenever, things are all said and done to where you finally decide, like, you know what, I kind of want to I want to chill.
Yeah.
Like, here's my cap. I've been holding this cap for about, let's say, 50, 60, 70 years. Mm-hmm. And it's like, all right, I'm putting the cap on this shit now.
Right.
Like, you want to be able to look back and be like, damn, I did this, and this. Mm-hmm. And if those were like your last moments, you can just be like, you know what? I have no regrets. I'm not looking back at it like, dang, I could have done something differently. Like, I could have done so much more because you've already set out to what you could do, and you did so much to the point where it's like, you know what, I'm good.
Yeah, I feel that. So let's pick a little bit.
Yes.
Let's talk about humility and humbleness.
Are they kind of one and the same?
They are, but I feel like there's a slight difference, in my opinion.
How so?
I feel like being humble is, how can I word this? I feel like being humble is just you know, like if like let's say you want a Nobel Peace Prize, you're not going around saying, hey, you know, I want a Nobel Peace Prize, right? But like, you know what I'm saying, when people bring it up, like you don't have a problem like acknowledging it, but then just like continuing on with the conversation as it was already flowing.
Wasn't it kind of tying to modesty though too?
Yeah. That's why I didn't bring that one up.
So you kind of putting modesty and, you know, humbleness in the kind of the same.
But I feel like humility is different. I feel like humility, like let's say that there's a 19-year-old and they know more about something that you're an expert in than you do. I feel like being able to accept the knowledge that they have is having humility.
Now, yep, I can definitely get into that. And I'm mad that the second you mentioned that, my mind went straight into wrestling. For those who don't know me at all, or you know who know me very little, I am a very avid wrestling fan. I would say a wrestling fanatic, if you will.
I was gonna say you can go and say fanatic. You ain't gotta sugarcoat.
No, it's in my bio. It's on my social media too. I don't care. But it was like the second you mentioned, because at first I was like, they're kind of one and the same, but I can understand it now.
Right.
Because there will be times, especially with social media, this whole thing called the IWC, the Internet Wrestling Community.
I was gonna say I had no idea.
I was gonna bring like long story. You would think these people are in the ring with the wrestlers that they talk shit to or talk shit about.
Right.
Like these are the I wouldn't say the whole IWC, but I would say like some wrestling fans, you know, they're so hardcore. And they're so like in the know or want to be in the know of the business that like they will legit go to somebody who just like they done watched on TV for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. They got a household name and stuff. The Rock. Like someone would legit dead ass go up to The Rock and then try to tell him more about his line of work at that time than The Rock would know himself. And he has had 3 generations of wrestling in his family.
Right.
Like you mean to tell me that this man who done had a grandfather, a father, himself, and several of the cousins as we speak, wrestling, and you mean to tell me that I'm gonna walk my bitch ass up to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and try to tell him how to motherfucking hit the goddamn people's elbow, motherfucking spine buster, clothesline, shit, throw a punch to the face type shit?
I didn't even know he had that many wrestlers in his family.
You would be fucking surprised.
You know more than I do. All I know is that he did football,
and he did wrestling, and he did acting.
Then went back to wrestling, and went back to acting.
Nah,
that's all.
Nah, that wrestling shit go. He's from a wrestling family. That shit go deep. But the way that The Rock is, like he would literally sit there and he just go wah 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 wah. And peanuts. And he would literally just sit there and just take all the shit in, and just kind of just one because he's The Rock, he would respectfully politely put you in your place. But at least, you know, he will hear you out. I would definitely say that's a definite sense of humility because me personally, I don't think I would fucking ever. I'm like, bitch, you don't even know how to get in the goddamn ring. I mean, but you want to tell me how to fucking do what the fuck I'm doing. Bitch, you ain't even, going back to Nobel Peace Prizes, like, Peace Prizes. Like, bitch, you didn't even pass remedial math. But you trying to tell me about some shit with some numbers or some science or, you know, some astrology type shit. You got me fucked up. I'm gonna listen to you. I'm gonna take it with humility and grace and class, and you know, just go on my way. Like I'm not finna, you know, just dig into you type shit,
right? And
be like oh no, you're wrong, and you don't know shit, and blah 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 blah. But this is like, I have enough knowledge and peace within myself to know that you're talking about experiences that I've literally already done. You're talking in hypotheticals. I've lived these moments.
Right.
I'm in a place of now and then in the future. So I would let you do you in the most humble, most, you know, way possible, you know, humble way possible, you know, showing that humility.
I feel like so I wanna clarify. I feel like you took humility to a different place than I took.
My bad.
No, you're fine. We literally just talking. You fine.
You know, this is a trade I do.
No,
I go deep.
It's all good. It's all good.
I go deep and I go left.
It's all good.
You know this.
So when I say humility, like, and the reason I specifically brought up something that you're an expert in and they're younger than you, is because if you're, how can I keep this simple? If you are an expert when it comes to math,
yes,
right? Like you're a math professor,
mathematician,
and like MIT, like that's a school that's known for like engineering, math, science, all of that type of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And then someone half your age, you know what I'm saying, comes to you and says, hey, your formulas are wrong, or this is a new theory that's out, or something along those lines, right? And they're right. Being able to accept that they are right, you know what I'm saying, without taking it personally.
So each one teach one moment.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Because they're just sharing the knowledge that they have. Now,
yes.
Granted, their delivery method may not be right. It may not be wrong. It varies per person.
Yes.
But their intent is literally just to... I
would say kind of like relates to you.
Right.
To
like, hey, you know math, I know math.
Like this is what you thought, this is what I think.
Right. And this is what I've heard and seen, this is what you've heard and seen, here's the differences.
Yeah.
Blah. Like literally just an exchange of information. That person's half your age and they just so happen to either be more up to date or know more or be more knowledgeable in whatever it is than you are, at least at that moment in time. And I feel like humility is being able to accept that, okay, I've maybe been doing this for 20 years, and they not even 20 years old, but they know what they're talking about.
I was literally
and
about
so
to
I
say
need
that.
to like step aside out of myself.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And like not take it personally, not be like, oh, they trying to do this, they trying to do that, but literally take it for what it is, as information that's coming from a different source, and not letting that source, like person half your age, get to you as a person. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like let it affect you, and then like you start feeling humiliated, or you start feeling embarrassed, or you start feeling like, you know what I'm saying, like it's even hot in the room and you need to like collar.
Yeah. Right. But like it shouldn't, because one great trait about, you know, someone with a great amount of humility is still always wanting to learn. Right. It's like
that's hard to find. And that's why I was saying, like, how do you feel about, you know what I'm saying, like humility versus being humble? Because like you can be humble but still lack humility. You can be you can have humility but lack being humble.
Yeah. So I can put it like this, because you kind of just said like the gist of what I was already like thinking in my head. Now you kind of just clarified it, because I kind of went on a little tangent.
No, you good.
It's like, yes, you can have all the humility in the world, but you can lack the humbleness of accepting said information, and vice versa. You can be the most humble person in the world, but you lack, the humility in accepting the fact that you are human. People do have a different perception of things, and there's a possibility that you may or may not be wrong. Yeah. Especially in the case if you're an expert in something. Yeah. I would say like the biggest trait as far as being an expert and trying to be have humility is accepting the fact that you may or may not be wrong in some situation, accepting that there are different sides of a thought, or an argument or a statement. Because at one point in time you were in that same person's shoes. So it's like you never want to be so much into yourself and into your element, into your own, your own judge or whatever, to where it's like you lack.
Is that Yiddish? Where'd you pick on Yiddish?
It's like you don't want to, like you don't want to accept. I don't lost my whole fucking train of thought. But you don't want to be so much into yourself that you lack the ability to accept different sides. Yeah. Whether they be right, wrong, or indifferent. And in some very, very rare cases, they just may well be right. Right. And you can be humble enough, it's like, okay, you can be humble and, have the humility and be like, that's right, that's something I never thought about, your age, like that's impressive. Right. And then you could, lay on some knowledge that they didn't know from themselves. Like it's literally an each one teach one moment. Yeah. And it's when you lack humility and lack humbleness, it's like you once again, you put a cap on yourself and you put a cap on them as far as, teaching them something or them teaching you something.
Right.
Because the whole point is just moving forward. Like, everything evolves, everything advances. You don't want things to stay stagnant or complacent.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you're so into yourself that like you really just close yourself off from learning more and doing more, it's like you're kind of doing yourself a disservice and you're kind of doing the people around you a disservice too. Because they may have some really innovative different stuff that you never thought about 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Right.
And there may be some things that they may have read or heard about 10, 15, 20 years ago reading about you, but they don't know like the full story. They may not know like the tidbits, the little, the little nuggets of information that got left out of just like the main picture or the main idea or the main story. It's like you don't want to lose or not have that sense of humility, that sense of being humble.
Right.
Just because you just want to know everything. Well, you just got your face a degree. You know your fucking thing. Got that from Precious. But yeah.
Yeah. So you brought up something that made me think of something.
Mm-hmm.
So you were saying that when you cap, when you cap a conversation, in that instance, like with humility,
yeah,
that you cap your opportunity for each one teach one.
Yeah, each one teach one. Yeah.
There. So that made me think about communication. But before communication, the first thing that hit my mind was burning bridges. Because there's more than one way to burn a bridge. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have, in my opinion, multiple bridges with a person.
Yes.
You have the bridge of whatever the relationship is that you've established.
Mm-hmm.
You have a bridge of communication,
mm-hmm.
a bridge of trust, and so on and so forth, depending on your interactions with that person.
Yes.
In my opinion, it's very possible to still have a relationship, friendship, romantic, social, family, whatever the case, but burn a bridge of communication because of how you handle conversations with that person.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, let's say you were really, 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 really happy about something. And you was like, oh, this happened, it's great, I'm super happy, whoop-de-whoop, right? And I was just like, oh, okay, that's cool. Or like, man, that's nothing. Whatever the case, like, it was not what you were expecting, or maybe it wasn't something that you wanted to receive, whatever the case.
Yeah.
Then that could have burned, you know what I'm saying, that bridge of communication between you and I.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now, could we still be friends post that? It's possible. Could, like, if you needed something, could you still reach out to me or vice versa? That's still possible. But when it comes to communication and having that vulnerability, right, of like things that are sacred to you or sacred to me, whatever the situation may be,
yeah,
that bridge of communication could then be burned.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
mm-hmm.
I feel like the way that you handle a person as a whole dictates the bridges that are there and the bridges that you burn.
Yeah, sometimes those bridges can be connected to one another.
Exactly. And some bridges are bigger than others.
Right. Some bridges are way bigger than others.
Yeah.
It's like you brought up, romantic. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure like if if the bridge of communication is burned, I'm pretty sure that romantic one is not far behind it. Because it's like if I can't talk, like if we can't do simple things as simply talking, why would I want to do anything romantic with you? Right. If in the back of my mind I'm thinking like I can't even talk to you about something I'm really really happy about, and you kind of just kind of like brush it off, or in the sense kind of burned that bridge, not intentionally,
right,
but burned nonetheless.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes the bridges can be connected to each other. But I never really thought about having different bridges, different sets of bridges, with like one particular person. Because usually, anytime you hear the term of burning bridges, it's always just one bridge, and all this, like romantic, communication, trust, all that stuff is kind of intertwined in that bridge. It's kind of like they're kind of broken off in different sections of said bridge. And of course, if one piece of a bridge is faulty, or let's say it burns, then of course the whole thing is going down. It just depends on where you burn it at. But I never really thought about having different sets of bridges with one person, but in different levels of it.
Right.
So that's something new I learned, or something different I thought about.
Yeah, because I feel like, how can I put this? I feel like different people serve different purposes in everybody's life, right? Like you have we'll use friendship. You have your primary group of friends. Mm-hmm. They're the first people you're gonna hit up when you go out. They're the first people you want to hit up when something good happens. They're the first people you hit up when something bad happens.
Yeah.
Whatever the case. So you have your secondary group of friends. It's if none of them are available, okay, you might hit this person up. You probably won't tell them all the good. You probably will tell them none of the bad.
Kind of just keep it just
right, just real surface. Yeah, real surface. And then after that, you know what I'm saying, you have what you can call an acquaintance. You know what I'm saying, high and by. If y'all are mutual friends with somebody else. You know what I'm saying, different situations like that.
Right.
And I feel like because of the varying degrees of friendship, relationships, whatever it is with different people, is why you're able to have multiple bridges with one person. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes things will happen, in my opinion, with a friend. Well, I wouldn't say a friend. Romantic relationship.
Yeah.
Say you and a person are dating, and then y'all decide to break up for whatever reason. We'll say the romantic bridge may have burned, and then whatever the cause for that one to burn with it. But there still may be a bridge of loyalty.
Yeah.
There still may be a bridge of trust. There still may be a bridge of reliability. I know if things hit the fan, I can call this person. I know that if I need to know about something, then I can call this person. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't necessarily mean that because the romantic and relationship bridge burned, that you don't have access to those. But there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to get to a destination. And in my opinion, there's more than one way to have access. Well, I won't say have access. There's more than one way that you can establish a relationship with a person.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
It's the more you're saying, it's so many different scenarios playing in my head. Either personal or not so personal. Thinking about a situation where all that stuff applies. So yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Mm-hmm. But I'll say one thing, as far as just burning bridges. One thing I've always taken pride in myself personally is never burning professional bridges with people.
Right. It's
I can have several different jobs where I just downright hated it. Mm-hmm. I wanted out. I wasn't, wasn't happy, wasn't doing what I wanted to do, feeling myself, stuff, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. And, I find it out. But I do it in a way to where it's I leave the option open of going back if I wanted to.
Right.
And I've done that with basically about every job that I've had. Mm-hmm. It's not saying, I've done anything to really burn me that done burns and bridges on their end.
Right.
But I know as far as me, it's okay, I may say, fuck this job, I'm out, I quit. But I also do it in a way to where it's, of course, professional, respectful, still acknowledging, I gained something out of my experience at this certain employer. Mm-hmm. And, possibly leaving the door open for, I guess you can say, a reconciliation. Mm-hmm. So it's maybe the bridge may not be so much burned. Right. It maybe a little singed, might have lost. Little toasty, the roast some of the roast might have come undone or got cut or if you step on a piece of it,
the wrong plank.
If you pray, if your foot go through it, but the bridge is still there.
It might be a little rickety.
Little rickety. lot of rickety. But you can still cross that bitch.
Yeah. I don't mean to cut you off. What you were saying earlier, you were saying when it comes to wrestling, you're a fan of wrestling and the sport of wrestling.
Yes.
So when the Olympics come on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you watch wrestling? Or even before the Olympics, do you watch wrestling that's not part of WWE, SmackDown, Raw, WWF, TNT, whatever the case?
So when you mean that, you mean as far as do I watch like actual wrestling, like collegiate Olympic wrestling, or do I just specifically just watch like professional wrestling, like the stuff you see on TV with the theatrics?
Because you were saying like you're a fan of the sport of wrestling. So I was wondering, like, is it the mainstream only? Is there also the historic sport?
Well,
is it a mix? Is it on the one side?
Well,
what does that look like?
Well, I guess when you put it like that, I guess I would say when I say when I say that I'm a wrestling fan, I'm a fan of professional as far as the whole sports entertainment thing. That's the stuff you usually watch on TV. With the storylines and the promos and the theatrics and the over top stuff.
Right.
As far as collegiate wrestling, Olympic wrestling, things like that, I don't really follow that as much, if really at all.
Right.
Well, I'd probably say the closest I would do to that as far as real actual collegiate, not collegiate, but real actual combat sport, I would definitely say MMA, because I'm a fan of MMA as well. But I guess it's with wrestling, I'm when I say I'm a wrestling fan, I don't mean just oh, I just watch WWE and that's it. Because there's more than just WWE out there. They're they are the top thing. They have the name, the notoriety, the household name, things like that. But of course, there's other companies, entities, stuff like that, that exist around WWE as well. So when I say I'm a wrestling fan, I don't just say oh, I just watch WWE and that's it. I watch WWE. I pay. One of my coworkers was bringing up, this new company that just came out called All Elite Wrestling, AEW. And they started watching stuff like that. And then you have Impact Wrestling, you have New Japan Pro Wrestling, you have All Japan Pro Wrestling. There's more to it than just your typical surface value WWE, just what everybody knows.
Right.
There's more to it.
Flash question: Ninja Warrior or American Ninja Warrior? 5, 4.
Ninja Warrior.
Your answer. Continue on.
No, that was about it. But to go back to the original as far as
the original.
Yes, the original. we go off topic very regularly. Unscripted as hell. But yeah, Vince McMahon keeps popping in my head as far as every time I was thinking of separating somebody as a person as opposed to their line of business.
Right.
Because like I was saying, business wise, man's absolute genius turned something so small into really something that was more or less like a circus act,
right.
Back in the gap, and made into this big, huge ass business and made people like The Rock, household names.
Because it was a circus act, because you saw Stone Cold come out in a monster truck.
Oh no, I mean literal circus acts. People back in the gap would go to literal carnivals and watch grown ass men wrestle.
I don't blame them.
But I'm saying the point is, business wise, absolute genius, success story in the making, whatever.
Yeah,
Trump fan. That is a very.
Let me stop.
Him as a businessman and as a person,
and the whole brought the family in. Same, his son, his daughter.
I'm saying as far as.
I'm just saying as far as parallels go.
The parallels are very similar, but I'm saying as far as a person, Vince McMahon has done some very
shady.
Shady.
Did he fake his death?
Huh?
Didn't he fake his death?
That was a storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a storyline to kill off the character of Mr. McMahon, but then that got overshadowed by the actual death of Chris Benoit. But we're not gonna get into that because that was some shit.
Yeah.
But
you ever watch that show Ink Masters?
Yes.
You know Jeff Hardy on it?
Yeah.
Dog, I was in shock. I was
Why?
Because I was like, damn, dog, you done got that low.
What you mean?
It was only season 2 of Ink Masters.
So?
They was getting some bad tattoos. Matter of fact, the tattoo that he got, he didn't even want. On top of that,
I didn't watch that episode.
I did. It's the only reason I know.
Anyway, I would say is Vince McMahon's a person. He's done some questionable things in the past.
Yeah.
Google it. But I've just been an overall fan of the product and not really holding a lot of past transgressions against people, which I'm typically like that anyway. To an extent, I would say I've definitely separated Vince McMahon as a person as opposed to Vince McMahon, the businessman, chairman, CEO,
right,
entertainment juggernaut, wannabe.
So how are you able to separate personal Vince McMahon from professional Vince McMahon?
Because
when assume you've never met this man.
I have never, and I would like to. So I want to keep my words nice and sweet one day.
All right, corny.
Boy, they ain't got shit to do with them. Shit. But I was separating Vince McMahon as a person because it's like everybody got their ways about him. You know, everybody ain't everybody's cup of tea,
right?
Type shit.
Nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect at all.
People gonna always have something to say.
Always gonna have something to say.
Right.
But you know, I could definitely separate it as far as I wouldn't even say, you know, the business person, Vince McMahon as far as the person, because anytime I think of business, I just think of like the character he portrayed on TV. So there's definitely a difference between Vince McMahon, the person, the chairman, the CEO, you know, the owner, blah blah blah, and Mr. McMahon, this over the top ass, loud, pompous, you know, overall ain't shit person that he portrays on television.
Right.
It's like when I'm watching that person, it's like, okay, like, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. Because I kind of, you know, I have an understanding, you know, it's a show.
Yeah.
Like you're playing a role.
Right.
I would hope that, you know, you don't go around, you know, really portraying yourself as such. He is quite a character from what I've heard. What I've heard and what I've read, you know, seen stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But nothing to the extent of, you know, what I would see on TV.
Right.
Because if that were the case, then I'm pretty sure, you know,
wouldn't be a show.
No, it wouldn't be a show. Things would be way different. Things would be way different.
Oh, yeah. No, I feel that. I definitely feel that.
It's cases where I could separate, you know, person from line of work. But like I said, it's only to a certain extent. But that kind of goes into my morals and what I deem, you know, is enough for me. Mm-hmm. As far as, you know, the whole R. Kelly thing, that's my cap, right? That's well over enough for me where it's like, I don't feel the same as I used to listening to Step in the Name of Love, or I Believe I Can Fly, or, you know, any of his great, you know, works of music. It's like I get conflicted almost. It's like I want to listen to it for nostalgic purposes, but at the same time, it's like I can't support this person like that because it's like what was out there. Like everybody can be lying on you. Everybody in the videotape can't be lying on you.
Right.
Like, I just can't. And, you know, because I've had friends and even family, you know, go through things as far as, you know, abuse and, you know, things of that nature. It's like I can't. It's like if I try to give an excuse to this person that I don't even know from a can of paint, it'd be almost like, you know, I'm giving an excuse to, you know, this person that I may have known for years. Or if I, you know, disregard the story of all these people that I don't know, I have never met a day in my life, it's almost as if I'm disregarding the story of somebody that I've see almost every day or I've known for years, or, you know, or in some cases even damn near lives with me type stuff. It's like I kind of just keep it like that.
Not good at that. That's fair. No shoot, man. We had a nice conversation.
Yeah,
I feel like we done ignored the gnats and flies and mosquitoes
Kinda.
and everything else enough.
To an extent, because I definitely feel like one of them might be trying to nest in my fro as we speak.
I mean, you know, shit happens.
No, it doesn't.
It does. Shit happens. But I definitely appreciate you for coming on the show.
Once again, I appreciate the invite. I am quite honored, and I'm actually pretty comfortable right now. I thought I'd be, you know, just kind of just running off at the mouth, like my heart beating, you know, fast as fuck. But it's like I'm good.
Yeah. Like
I'm chilling.
Hey, this is normal everyday stuff. Just sit around talking.
This is literally shit that we've done for
7 years.
7 years.
7 years.
Like literally for 7 years, like from the very beginnings, you know, OG BSSP.
Yep.
And then, you know, just going on years forth. And then you finally moved back here and, you know, just kind of picked up where we just picked up. Like, we ain't never skipped a damn beat, you know?
Just how it is.
Some of our conversations be funny.
That's true.
Some of our conversations been funny as fuck. Some of the conversations been deep. That shit would have been a fucking YouTube channel. And follow this on your favorite, wherever you know, like to fancy your favorite podcast or whatnot.
That too.
I eat Spotify. Definitely on Spotify.
Yep, I am on Spotify. We are on Spotify. This is on Spotify. However you want to word it, Spotify. Anchor. There's a few others. Point is, if you get podcasts or you listen to podcasts, there's a very good chance that I am where you listen. But with that being said, once again, this is Unscripted Conversations. Like, comment, subscribe, post notifications, tell a friend. With that being said, we out.